Look at this. Simon Line Time Lapse. Finally in my hands. Shout out to Javi. Hooked me up. Here you go. Take a look at this thing. So from what I understand, this first run of the time lapse is pretty overstable. This is going to be, my understanding, the destroyer of Axiom MVP. It's not quite as flat as what you normally see. We'll find out. I ain't going to throw it. It's so pretty though. We're going to compare it to Destroyer. I had a bunch of Destroyers sitting around. 12.5, negative 1.3s. Here's you a side-by-side comparison. They look pretty similar. Just slightly different right here. This has got a little bit more round. That's a little bit sharper. There is, like, I think supposedly like 3 Destroyer molds, so that wing changes slightly from mold to mold. But yeah, I think a lot of people are going to like this, and I'm not even thrown it yet. No warm-ups at all. First throws with the time lapse. Just going to try to be smooth and just throw it flat. Right off the bat, it's overstable. We'll follow it up with the Destroyer. Maybe a slight bit more glide to it, but similar in flight. I think the time lapse was more stable though. Okay, so come on a walk with me here. I don't know if I've ever really told people on YouTube like why I actually started doing YouTube videos. Like, I don't know if I have. And to be clear, I was doing some stuff on social media beforehand, but the real reason was when I started disc golf, I had no idea what discs were what and what they did. And we were in an area, and still are, where there are no other disc golfers. It was me and 2 other guys. So getting information about discs was really hard, and trusting flight numbers, which is why I don't trust them, didn't always work. So I wanted to start trying to help new disc golfers figure out what works for them by showing flights of discs. Because most of the times whenever I was tried to look up videos for stuff I was interested in, it was people talking about them, but they weren't throwing the discs. It was just like in depth, this is how it flies for me, without any field testing really involved, or if there was, it wasn't much. So that's why I started doing it. Just a little insight as to why, because I wanted it to be something that like I would have found useful. All right, this thing is now christened. It has lost all of its value, so now I don't feel bad about throwing it. Sorry, Addison, I think I'm keeping it. First throw, pretty stable. Destroyer had went farther. To be fair, this has been thrown before a bit. I bagged them for a while. We are on the opposite side of the field, and we're going to go probably like any shot, try to match it and see. I really want to throw, I'm going to be throwing the stock run of these in a video as well when they come out. First things off, plastic feels great. I love whenever I can get a disc and I can push my thumb into it and it doesn't want to slide out. This is a very nice feeling plastic right here. So we're just going to go kind of like an Annie. I am not 100% today. Okay, look at that. Okay. I will tell you this, that's going to be reliable. I don't have a big arm. I don't claim to have a big arm, but I was still able to get a flex. Now, I enjoy overstable discs like that. because I can still kind of work it on a backhand. If I can work a driver on backhand like that, because I didn't throw that near 100%. That means on forehand, I'll be able to manipulate it even more as well. I always loved the feel of star plastic, and I like this. I like that time lapse more than this star. Just saying. You know what? That is almost on top of that time lapse. Very similar power throws from my feel. Trying to feel that coil, baby. And almost identical results, I think. So we might be looking at a pretty good destroyer. Gary in the background over there. Time lapse is, I think, going to be one of those discs that high level pros are going to like, and also ones that are on MVP's team is going to be the driver they've been looking for. It's not going to be for everybody, I can tell you that. I think people who like to forehand a lot, I think they're going to enjoy this disc. I think you're going to be able to hit it with like the forehand ante, flex, all that kind of stuff, and get a usable flight out of it, instead of having to work around and find something you like in that overmold spot. If you're one of those people that wants to stay with it, or if you're just looking for an alternative to the destroyer, because I think right now this is what that's going to be. This is probably going to be one of the closer ones I've thrown to a destroyer like, because it feels pretty good. I would prefer this feel in hand over a destroyer. Okay, time lapse time. I'm getting slightly more warmed up here. I'm gonna try to give this a little bit more mustard. It's stable, baby. It's overstable. I mean, if I would have thrown that on ante, maybe I got a little bit more out of it, but that was just flat, I think, and it didn't go very far. Now that was kind of like a pull around. It was about the same reaction though. You know, I think they're the same, but the time lapse feels much better in hand to me. Yeah, those last throws weren't the greatest. I'm gonna try to throw a couple more good throws. The thing's reliable. That is a reliably stable disc. Maybe the destroyer has just like a bit more turn / glide to it, but they fly similar. But like I said, that's not a very brand new destroyer, so keep that in mind. We're gonna give these forehands, time lapse forehand here. Man, that's gonna hold up to everything. That's pretty good forehand though. We'll try versus the destroyer. Probably a better flick in general, but I always like destroyers for forehands. I think I could get a better one with that time lapse, but running out of time today, it will hold up for sure. Okay, so the time lapse here. Is it worth it? For this run right here, paying that top dollar stuff that's been going on, like the $100 plus, no, it's not. But getting stock runs, I think it's going to be good. It feels great in hand. I love the way it feels. Love this plastic, so that's a positive. Forehand, I always like when I can forehand and backhand a driver. Definitely can do that with this disc. Handles both. I think if the stock runs have a little less stability to them, For somebody like me, it would make them even more usable. Forehands, I would go to this all day because it still has glide. If you hit it and let it fade out, you don't have to kill it on a forehand, but you can, and it'll still handle it. Backhand for me, if it had just a tad bit more glide or just a tad more turn, it would be a little bit more usable, but still it will go. But the destroyer, I have to say, on a couple of the really good rips, whenever I got on to the destroyer, I got more distance by far. Like that forehand I threw was like 380 feet. And I do not bomb forehands anymore. So for me, that's a pretty good forehand now. I used to rip them hard. That's pretty good now. This was well short. Didn't get the turn on it though. So keep your eyes on that stock run of these. Might be better than trying to search down one of these rare first run prototypes. But yeah, it's good. It's good. That's all we got. Till next time. Peace.